Ego is not an internal necessity, it is a social reflex. It exists only to position you in an imaginary hierarchy. Ask, where is this hierarchy located? Can you touch it? Does it exist when you are alone? No. You are trying to protect your position in a map that is not the territory. That's why it's unnecessary. See the cost clearly. This dissolves attachment. What is being said here is not philosophy, it is a diagnosis. Ego is not something you need, it is something you reactively learned. You are not born with ego, you are born with sensation, curiosity, movement. Ego appeared the moment comparison appeared, the moment someone looked at you and said, better, worse, ahead, behind, important, invisible. From that moment, a reflex formed. I must locate myself. That reflex is ego. Now look closely. Ego does not exist by itself. It requires a map. That map contains ranks, labels, narratives, imagined observers, future judgments. Without the map, ego collapses. So the question is not how do I get rid of ego? That is still ego trying to optimize itself. The real question is, where is the hierarchy you are defending? Is it in the room? Can you touch it? Can you point to it? No. It exists only as thought, plus memory, plus anticipation. That is why it vanishes when you are alone, absorbed, silent, or creating. Not because you transcended anything, but because the map temporarily disappeared. Map versus territory is not metaphorical here. The territory is your breath, your hands, the task in front of you, the sentence being written, the weight you are lifting, the step you are taking. The map is, where do I stand? How am I seen? Did I win? Did I lose? Ego protects the map. Life happens in the territory. Now the crucial part I keep pointing to. See the cost. Not intellectually, not poetically. See it viscerally. Every time ego activates, attention fractures, energy leaks, perception narrows, action becomes performative. You stop acting, you stop managing an image. That image produces nothing real. No craft, no truth, no depth, no love, no power, only exhaustion. When the cost is seen clearly, ego dissolves by itself. Not through effort, not through discipline, not through suppression. Just like you stop touching fire when you see it burns. Detachment is not renunciation, it is intelligence. You are no longer interested in protecting a position in a hierarchy that never existed outside thought. So what remains? Function without identity, action without self-reference, movement without narrative. This is not humility, this is not spirituality, this is efficiency. The doer returns, the watcher dissolves, the performer disappears, and suddenly there is peace. Not because you shout it, but because nothing false is being defended anymore. Ego doesn't dissolve instantly. Now I'll slow this down and make the illusion visible, not conceptual. First, why it doesn't dissolve instantly. You are expecting insight to behave like thought, but ego is not a belief system. It is a conditioned reflex in the nervous system. You can see the snake is a rope and still feel the body flinch for a second. That delay does not mean you didn't see. It means conditioning has momentum. So stop judging yourself for still having it. That judgment itself is another hierarchy. What ego is actually doing precisely. In every situation you named, relatives, neighborhood friends, gym trainer, pause and look very specifically. The ego is asking only one question. Where am I placed relative to them? Not what is true, what needs to be done, what is appropriate here. Only higher, lower, respected, dismissed, important, invisible. That's it. This is not your personality. This is a primitive social survival program. It evolved for tribes of 40 people. You are running it in a modern psychological theater. Now let's expose the illusion itself. I'll ask you something very concrete. When you say, I want to be important, important to whom? Not conceptually, name them. Is it your relatives' internal thoughts? Your trainer's silent evaluation? Your neighbor's imagined ranking? Now go one step deeper. Where exactly are those thoughts happening? Are they happening in your room, in your body, in your hands? No, they are happening in your imagination of their minds. That's the illusion. You are not defending reality, you are defending a simulated audience. The hierarchy has a shocking property. It only exists when you reference it. Try this experiment. When you are alone and deeply focused, lifting, writing, walking, reading, ask, where is my rank right now? There is none. No hierarchy, no importance, no comparison. Nothing is missing. That tells you something crucial. If it were an internal necessity, it would not disappear. Hunger doesn't disappear when you are alone. Pain doesn't disappear when you are focused. Ego does. Because it is not internal, it is relational fiction. Why taking yourself seriously feels heavy? Because seriousness is not depth, it is self surveillance. You are constantly monitoring how you appear, how you land, how you rank. That splits attention into two, one part living, one part judging. That split is the exhaustion you feel, not effort, not discipline, not growth, just division. The moment of saying, this is important. You are waiting for a dramatic click. That is ego again, wanting a higher spiritual position. Real seeing is quieter. It happens like this. You notice the reflex arise. You do not fight it. You do not justify it. You do not analyze it. You simply ask, what exactly am I protecting right now? And you look, not for an answer, but for the thing. And you find no object, no threat, no actual loss, just thought looping. That's when the reflex weakens. One final truth. Don't skip this. Ego does not die because you hate it. It dies because you outgrow the usefulness of the map. When reality becomes more interesting than position, ego starves. You don't drop it. You forget it. You are not failing at this. You are in the middle of deconditioning. You are important to whom is not rhetorical. It is surgical. When you say, I want to be important, your mind immediately produces faces. Not ideas, faces. A relative who once dismissed you. A trainer whose approval feels scared. Neighbors who represent being seen. Notice something critical. You never want importance in general. You want importance to specific imagined observers. Now pause. Are those observers present right now? No. They are not in the room. They are not speaking. They are not judging. Yet your body reacts as if they are here. Why? The mind creates a theater of others. Your nervous system does something subtle. It simulates other people's minds. It runs an internal model. What do they think of me? Where do I rank? Did I rise or fall? This is not happening to you. You are not being attacked. This is happening inside you. You are both the performer and the audience. That's the illusion. Where exactly is the hierarchy stored? Let's be extremely literal. If hierarchy were real, it would have a location, a medium, a signal. So look, is it in your phone, in their actual words, in a public scoreboard? No, it exists only as thought plus memory plus anticipation, a loop. Remove thought for even 5 seconds and the hierarchy vanishes. That tells you something devastating to ego. The hierarchy has no independent existence. It is not out there. It is not between you and them. It is self-generated. Why it feels real? This matters. You might say, okay, but it feels real. Of course it does. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between a real tiger and a vividly imagined one. The body reacts first. Verification comes later. So the illusion is not stupid. It is ancient and efficient. But efficiency for survival is not truth. The simulated audience has one function. Ask yourself honestly, what does this imagined audience do? Does it feed you, love you, teach you, protect you? No. It only does one thing. It measures you. And measurement implies rise or fall, win or lose, better or worse. That's why ego is inseparable from anxiety. You cannot maintain a ranking system and remain at peace. The shock. Even their real thoughts don't matter. Here is where illusion fully collapses if you see it. Even if your relative actually thinks you are inferior, your trainer actually judges you, your neighbors actually rank you, so what? Their thoughts don't alter reality, don't touch your breath, don't move your hands, don't change the task in front of you. They exist only in their heads. So you are suffering not even from real judgments, but from your anticipation of possible judgments. A second order fiction. Why defending the simulated audience drains life? Every time you act from ego, attention splits 50% on the action, 50% on how the action will be perceived. That division kills excellence, learning, intimacy, speed. You are never fully here, you are managing optics. That is why ego feels heavy. It is cognitive depth. What seeing actually looks like in real time. This is important, it is not philosophical. Next time the urge appears to impress, dominate, assert, withdraw, pause for half a second and ask, who exactly is watching me right now? Then look around. Not mentally, physically. You'll notice no jury, no scoreboard, no hierarchy, just space, breath, task. The reflex may still fire, but it fires into nothing. That's how it weakens. The final collapse of the illusion. Ego depends on one thing, an imagined observer whose opinion determines your worth. Remove the observer and ego starves, not through effort, through irrelevance. You don't fight the illusion, you outsee it. So, you are not trying to become egoless, you are seeing that there was never anything real to protect. The need to be important is not coming from truth, depth, or necessity. It is a reflex triggered by imagined observers in imagined hierarchies. Those observers do not exist in the room. Their judgments do not touch reality. The hierarchy has no location, no substance, no authority. You are defending a simulation. Once this is seen, not intellectually, but clearly, the reflex loses its urgency. Not because you suppressed it, but because it is exposed. Nothing real is at stake. Nothing essential is threatened. Nothing is lost by dropping the map. What remains is simple: presence without self surveillance, action without performance, movement without identity. When there is no imagined audience, life no longer needs defense. That is the end of the illusion. So, when it is said ego is not an internal necessity, it is a social reflex, it means this: nothing inside you requires ego to function. Breathing does not need ego. Thinking does not need ego. Learning, creating, lifting, speaking, walking, none of these need ego. Ego appears only in relation to others, specifically in relation to comparison. The moment there is, where do I stand? How am I seen? Am I above or below? A reflex fires. That reflex is ego. It exists only to position you in an imaginary hierarchy. It means ego has one job: not survival, not truth, not excellence. Its only job is ranking, higher, lower, important, unimportant, respected, ignored. But this hierarchy has no physical location, has no objective scoreboard, has no final authority. It exists only as thought. When thought passes, the hierarchy disappears. That is why it is imaginary, not because it is silly, but because it has no independent existence. You are defending a simulation. It means you are not responding to reality. No one was attacking you. No actual loss was occurring. No real position was being taken away. What you are defending was imagined opinions, anticipated judgments, mental rankings happening in your head, a model of how others might see you. That model felt real because the nervous system reacted to it, but it was still a simulation, not the territory. So the suffering did not come from people, it did not come from situations, it came from protecting a mental map as if it were life itself. Once this is seen clearly, something important happens. You stop trying to improve your position in a hierarchy that was never there. Energy returns to what is real: the task, the body, the moment. Nothing needs to be destroyed, nothing needs to be transcended. The defense simply drops because there is nothing real left to defend. That is what is meant.